Okay, so I have assembled all of the pieces that I want on this design. So the next step is deciding what gets the most attention, what's the most important, and what order do I want things to be read in. Now, typically you want the name of the group if you're doing a music poster, or the product to be the thing that has the most attention. And you can do that a bunch of ways. So you can make it bigger than everything else on the design, or the whatever it is you're making. And you can also place it so that in Western culture it makes sense that you are reading it first. So for us, we read from the left to the right and then top to bottom. So anything that's placed in the top left will be read before anything else. Now the next thing that I want to have the most attention is the date, because that's the next thing that people are wanting to know. If you look at an event poster, you go, oh, that looks cool, when is it, so I know I can go. So I made that a little bit smaller than this other stuff. Now if I look at these things, I have a bunch of text on here that is all about the same size, so it has about the same visual weight. And I'm going to make maybe these a little bit smaller, because I think when you look at a band poster, who is in it is less important than who the band itself is and when it is. Okay, so that's pretty good. My banjo, I chose to make the blue color so that it would be less obvious. There's more contrast between the white, the red, and the orange and my dark background than there is between the blue. So I know the blue is not going to be really the first thing that I see. So we have a whole bunch of information here. Let's talk a little bit about alignment. Now I do have made a video about alignment. I would recommend go watch that for all the little like tidbitty stuff. But essentially, alignment is when you take more than one object and move it so that it shares a vertical or horizontal line edge with another one. So to make that a little less geeky sounding, if I grab a guideline and pull it out, say to the edge of my group name here, and I wanted everything else to align with that along that right edge, then I would grab all of those objects and put them by that guideline in a way that made sense. Now I'm going to hide my guidelines. And you can see that even that little bit of moving things over, even though it's not my final placement, that makes it easier to read. It gives me a line to follow with my eyes. So I read Scratch, Playing One Night Only, These People, November 26th. That makes sense. That would work. However, if you remember, I've already played around a little bit with how I would like to arrange things. So this is maybe an example of this first drawing. I'm going to take a look at doing this drawing. In fact, I'm going to copy this back over so I can look at it while we're doing this. And remember, anytime you want to take a bunch of objects and make sure that they actually do share the exact edge, you can choose different multiple layers. I'm doing it by holding down Command and the Shift key and clicking on these layers, and you can see them adding over here. And then you can grab your Move tool and click on one of these options up here. So I could also click the Align Left option, which will pop everything over so that it actually shares exactly an edge. Yep, sure does. So that's a little bit about alignment. We'll talk a little bit more about it as we go on. There's more than just one type of alignment. This is a right alignment. I could take all of these objects and hit my choose center alignment for something else. And then obviously this little is part of the 26, so I'd have to move it otherwise. Now I did center all of these, so this is technically centered down the middle of each one of these, but what's the matter with my text? This looks really odd that I would have some right aligned text in the middle of a chunk of center aligned objects. So when you do something like this, I would recommend when you grab all of these text layers to take your text tool and set them all to the same align. So I'm going to set center align. And yeah, I know that really popped things out, but let's, before we panic, go back to your move tool and choose center align, and that really popped them all back in to where I needed them, and they really truly are centered. So this creates very balanced viewing. If I did run with this centered idea, I would probably find another graphic to balance out over here and give it some, so right now it feels lopsided because I have this stuff over here, but I could maybe do something like this to balance it out. And this works. It does work. It's still not where we want to end up. I do want to go over a couple more things. So once again, play around a little bit with some alignment and then go on to the next step.